To start our week 1 deep dive, we're going to begin with creating new obstacles. So we're going to first click on our platform sprite, go into our costumes, and we're going to see what hazards or obstacles we have to begin with. The ones that we have are the ones that we started off with, which are just the spikes and the red lava. So now we're going to be able to change and make our own ones. But before we do that, we need to know two different little rules. The first one is we need to pay attention to the colors that we're using. We're not telling our player when it touches a shape to actually lose. It's going to be based off of the color. So if you see here, I have two colors for my spike, which means if I touch any of these two colors, I lose, and I need to restart my game again. So first thing you need to keep track of is the colors. So if you remember what I said when we were actually going over changing the art, I specifically made sure to say don't make it any color that's close to the green or this red or even the spikes, because then it'll become a little bit confusing for the code to be able to distinguish what's an obstacle and what's part of our actual block to actually jump around. So make sure that when you're picking out the colors, you're not doing too many colors, because then you need to make sure that you're doing a lot of colors for the code in order to keep track of it. Make sure that it's very simple. And the second thing is making sure that it clearly is an obstacle. By this, I mean, if you look at my hazard that I have here, this little spike, it's a triangle, right? So you're thinking about it being sharp, being dangerous. It's clear that you're supposed to avoid this. I don't even have to tell you when you were probably playing the game that you needed to avoid this. You can just tell. And that's how you make a good obstacle. The player, when they're playing the game, they're able to just see it and know, oh, I got to avoid this if I want to win this game, right? If you make something that's a little bit hard to tell what's an obstacle, then players are going to get mad because they don't know what's an obstacle and what they're supposed to touch. So you're making the game a little bit harder for them doing it that way. So now that you have these kind of rules in mind, you'll be able to create whatever obstacle you guys want. So let's say for my ocean, maybe one of the obstacles I want to create is a sharp coral, right? So I'll use my brush tool, use a color that I've not used, and make sure that it's just one. I'm going to go for a dark color, because sometimes dark color kind of tells you that it's a little bit sharp. And with my brush, I'm just going to go ahead and start drawing kind of what I want this coral to be. So kind of like this, maybe is what I want. Okay. And now I'm going to position it where I want. So maybe I want to place it here. So I'm going to delete this old one that I have, add my new one. And I can even use the back method just to make sure it's in correctly. Okay. And here I have one of my obstacles. It does everything that I want, so I make sure that it's semi-sharp so that player knows, hey, they need to avoid this. I also make sure it's one color so that when I code it, it's really simple to tell which one is what. And now what I can do is, maybe I want to remove this other one that I have. I can go ahead and click on the one I made, click on copy and paste, and now I can add new ones in here. Click on back. Okay, so I have this. I can also change the lava as well and change it to something else. So really the sky's the limit as to what you can do. You can either make 1 or 2 or 3 hazards and use the same ones for all of your levels, or based off of your levels, you can make different hazards. But just keep those rules in mind while you're making them, and go ahead and have some fun creating different hazards, thinking of different things you might want to do for your theme, and convert that into a hazard too, so that it's also in theme with what you're doing. So sky's the limit here, guys. Have fun playing around with it. If you don't like using the brush tool, you can also use the shape tool and then just reshape it to whatever you want. So here I have a square. I'm using my reshape tool. And once I click on it and add an anchor point, I can also click on pointed. And this way I can make sharper objects if I wanted to. And here I'm just playing around with how I want some stuff to look like. You can even make hazards this way too, and then even use the brush tool to draw stuff on top of it as well. So there are different options for different ways you guys can go about the same thing.